Hey there, Kenneth French of Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're very, very happy you stopped by. Either you're going to watch this or listen to this because you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably an entrepreneur who's either just starting out or you've been around for quite a while and you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably a real estate investor, maybe even a real estate agent, maybe a professional or of some sort, professional advisor of some sort. And well, you are stopping by because you need some valuable advice from one of the top industry leaders there is. Anyway, thank you very much. Once again, Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Really glad you stopped by.
Other than Mr. AI, Michael Albada. What's going on, Michael?
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast.
This is a big deal, big deal. You know why? Because this is your first ever podcast, and man, you are going to go up from here. How does that sound?
I'm excited about that.
It's amazing to me. I haven't been on one before because what you have to say is unbelievable. People don't know. People haven't really caught on to AI. I don't think really to the extent they will down the road. And you and AI and security, it's a big deal. And so this is going to be a half an hour that's going to be action packed. Thanks again for being here.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
All right. I haven't really prepped you really. So I'm going to ask some hard questions, and I know you can think on your feet. You and I won't know each other well enough that I know you can think on your feet. All right. So why AI and why security? What's your reason?
So looking way back, I really think that all of the biggest advancements in the quality of life in humanity comes from improvements in productivity. Fundamentally, that's what it's about. And we have just been through such an incredible era of technical transformation over the last 50, 100 years. We tend to take it for granted, but the pace of innovation is only accelerating. And AI in particular, I came to focus on this because I just think it's the most fascinating topic on the face of the earth right now. There's absolutely brilliant people working in it. And I've been convinced that this is an area that's really going to bring about significant improvements to our quality of life for a very long time. And I think we've had an incredible moment with the arrival of ChatGPT that really made AI personal for people and help people really see we can do something very different than ever before. This is somehow more natural, more intuitive, and more personal. And I think that is going to unlock a significant number of new opportunities across a wide variety of industries. So I really think this is coming to change all of our lives. And it's a very exciting moment, but it's also one that comes with a significant amount of responsibility. We need to make sure that we are designing and building these systems in a way that's really responsible and is going to benefit the majority of humanity. And I think a key part of that is safety and cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is an area that had been interested to me. I studied it back in grad school. And when I had the opportunity to come and work and apply my experience in machine learning and AI to cybersecurity, specifically at Microsoft, it was a really exciting opportunity. I know that we're only going to be able to build these tools if we're going to be able to build and maintain the trust of the public and the trust of our customers and our friends and family to be able to realize the opportunity and gains from these innovations. And so I just think it's an absolutely critical area. And like all innovations and all tools, these are dual use technologies. They can be used for good or they can potentially be used for ill. And I think cybersecurity will enable bad actors to accelerate their attack vectors. And we need really smart people working to apply these cutting edge technologies to help protect us against those types of cyber attacks so that we can continue to thrive and prosper and benefit from them.
Yeah, there's no doubt you're at the cutting edge, and you've been around since before. Obviously, about a year ago is when AI got big with ChatGPT, and now with Claude, with Gemini, et cetera, et cetera. But so I feel comfortable talking to you about this stuff because you're not just one of the guys who've gotten into AI in the last year. You studied it in school. I mean, you've been around, So let's get to that. Let's get to your background a little bit because I think it's pretty unique and it shows that you're not just a 1-year guru in AI. Hence the reason I call you Mr. AI. But tell us your background. It gives you some credibility. Can you hear me?
Seems like there was just a drop in the connection. I missed your question. Could you repeat it for me?
Yeah, no problem. And we'll cut that out. So your background indicates that you're not just, you haven't been in AI just for a year. Like there's so many gurus who are saying, oh, I'm a guru. I know AI. They train people on AI. You've been around, you studied it, number one. Number two, you've been into it a lot longer than, the latest craze, which is the last year, I'd say, with, Chat GPT and then Gemini and Claude. So why don't you go into your background a little bit? Because I think it provides a good foundation for some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. Because you are truly one of the known entities as it relates to AI and cybersecurity.
Yeah, happy to. So I'm fortunate enough to have discovered computer science and statistics all the way back in high school. Fortunate to have incredible teachers all the way back there. And I then went to Stanford and continued to study computer science and statistics. I went off on a separate trajectory for a while. I was passionate about trying to make the world a better place, and I went and taught in Philadelphia. I did Teach for America for 2 years and taught math in North Philadelphia, and realized we really need to do more to increase opportunities in this country. The gaps between the quality of education we provide in our best and our worst high schools is just, from my perspective, unconscionable. Mm-hmm. And went off and I did a master's in public policy. Certainly took the more technical route, so still, additional statistics and programming and geospatial informatics. Came back and worked as a quantitative analyst at Stanford Research Institute for a year. But I really wanted to use these advanced tools to make the world a better place. But what I found was working in policy, the work I did, very sophisticated statistics with really brilliant people, went and sat on shelves. And that was just not something that I was happy with. And I wanted to build tools that actually get used and deployed in the real world. And so I decided to go back and do a data science immersive and really deeply enjoyed it. And so I also decided to go back and get a second master's in computer science from Georgia Tech. Worked in startups. The startup I worked at was acquired by Uber. I spent 4 years there working on maps, specifically around destination prediction. I helped train and deploy the first deep learning model for ETA prediction. And then eventually with the COVID surge, I moved over to join Uber Eats on their recommendation system. So very, very large scale machine learning and deep learning models on geospatial data. After that, I went to ServiceNow and spent a year on training language models for natural language understanding and task automation. And from there, went to join Microsoft. So I've really been in the machine learning, deep learning space for coming up on a decade now across a pretty wide range of different sort of subdomains within machine learning, but quite a bit of work in natural language processing. So I've been privy to the innovations that have been happening in this space. And it's really hard to even explain the degree of breakthroughs that we have seen. Where natural language processing was in 2014 versus 2018 versus even 2021 to today. It's surprising even to experts within the field. And so much of this has come from innovations in scale. Some of it is pure engineering competence, but a lot of it is just really tireless hard work and innovation from incredible engineers at both large and small research labs that have continued to move the needle. And I've seen tremendous opportunity to use these tools to accelerate the work that we do and generate benefits for so many users and consumers and citizens. But there's so much potential that still has yet to be unlocked. And even there's so much opportunity and value to be gained from the state of the technology as it is today. But it certainly is hard for individuals and hard for business owners to catch up with the state that it is at any given time. And things are moving so quickly that it's exciting, but it's also a lot to keep on top of for anyone.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. It's hard for a small business owner because from one week to the next, there's going to be something new. It seems like, but I think that's part of our job as business owners to be able to pivot. But obviously, you do have the background. There's no doubt about that. You are the right guy in the right seat there over at Microsoft, the group you're running. So let's talk about some of the downsides, because obviously you combine AI with cybersecurity. So why cybersecurity? Because I think some of our listeners and viewers are going to be interested in that, because I think there's some huge downside as far as cybersecurity risks to small business owners. So tell us about some of the risks the risks that you're trying to make sure keep off the shoulders of, I guess, Microsoft and also of small business owners.
Absolutely. So cybersecurity, start with just some numbers that are a little concerning, but cybersecurity, at this point, if you add up all of the cyber attacks, to the best of our knowledge, it measures slightly larger than the GDP of India.
You mean in dollar value?
In dollar value. And
that's
is
huge.
growing about 15%, which is larger than or faster than any GDP in the G20. Mm-hmm. So the scale of this problem is staggering. So every single company needs to be aware of this and needs to put the right measures in place. And we also understand that security is one of so many different priorities that every business has to think about. And we're primarily focused on our products and value and customer service and marketing. There's all these things, and cyber and IT is really related, but it's a separate issue unto itself. Cybersecurity all too often gets short shrift, and it can then really come back and bite us. And I think especially with the pandemic, we saw this big push towards digital. So there's just a long running secular trend towards greater digitization. And the pandemic forced a whole bunch of companies to go fully remote much faster than they were planning on doing. And not all companies were ready for that digital transition. And it exposed quite a few companies who left cybersecurity vulnerabilities and backdoors. And unfortunately, cyber criminals took advantage of that. And we did see a significant increase in cybercrime during that time. And it's no surprise that on the heels of that, we saw this big surge in cybersecurity spending. And if you look across the public markets, we saw significant increase in investment and several big cybersecurity companies come to market. And then we've also seen a bit of a drop, especially with rise in interest rates. Some of those companies have taken really significant haircuts. And part of it is that CTOs were realizing that they were cutting budgets across nearly every single sector because capital is more expensive these days. Mm-hmm. But cybersecurity was the one area where they were continuing to increase their spend. But unfortunately, cybersecurity is one of these areas where even though we see the spend go up year over year, we're not delivering the type of value and protection that we want to see. It's a little bit like American healthcare. High spending that is going up, but we're not necessarily getting the types of benefits that we should for the amount of money that we're spending in this country. And so from my perspective, looking at cybersecurity, we need to find ways to be smarter, to be more agile, to make it easier for companies, to enable them to scale, to be able to better protect any size of company with fewer people, to be more efficient. Should also share that we're, according to the latest estimates, about 1 million cybersecurity analysts short within the United States alone. It is hard to find these people. These can be challenging jobs, and very often they're overwhelmed by the volume of issues that they need to look into. So what we're really trying to do is up-level and empower them, make their lives easier, allow them to focus on the most relevant, most urgent, most important tasks, and just make their jobs easier. So I think we're a very long ways away from automation within cybersecurity. I think we're very far away from any risk of displacing cybersecurity analysts. What we're really trying to do is make their jobs easier, help them be better, but also enable companies to scale more effectively with the talent that they have.
I think it's a with AI it's great. Obviously AI is great. I mean, we've been proponents for AI since really 2018. Really, we started researching in 2010. But what I would say is, I think there's so much good that can come out of AI, but at the same time, because all the good, let's say the good guys are coming out with cool AI, but that also means the bad guys are coming out with cool AI. You know what I mean? Meaning those are the ones who are trying to get into your, the firewalls or whatever the case is. And that's frightening, especially from a small business owner. That being said, to me, it's a little scary about spending money on cybersecurity, because to me, it's almost like a tax. You really don't know if you're going to get hit or not. But then again, well, if you don't spend it and you get hit, you're in real trouble, right? But what can I do as a small business owner? I'm going to remind you, Michael, or Mr. AI, most of our people are small business owners, solopreneurs who are going to be listening to this. I mean, what do they do? It's like a tax. It's like an expensive tax, and they don't even think they're going to get hit, which they might get hit. But what do you say to a small business owner who's worried about spending that tax?
I would say the way to think about it is more as insurance, right? You, of course, you are probably not going to be the person who's going to have a fire, and your house is probably not going to burn down. But in case it were to, you want to make sure that you don't lose everything and that you can get back on your feet. And so sure, you can self-insure, but it's a riskier choice to do. But cybersecurity, it's a collective effort. It's a team battle. If we all pay into the insurance bucket a small, reasonable amount, it helps protect not only us, but it helps protect everyone else. It allows you to be able to better harden your systems and recover. And to extend this, risk of fire metaphor, there's also a bunch of things you can do to harden your home, right? There's creating defensible space. There's fire resistant roofing materials that you can use, potentially switching out natural gas for electric, little things like that can lower your insurance rate, for instance. And a lot of the really simple things don't cost very much. So just basic monitoring and logging, basic firewalls, just making sure that the servers that you're running and the devices that you allow onto your network are, if not the absolute latest, reasonably fresh, that they have taken the necessary precautions to protect against the well-known vulnerabilities, enabling things like multi-factor authorization, multi-factor authentication. These small things are not expensive, and just a little bit of investment in this and just doing the basics will take you a long way. And more than anything, I would say, don't think about it as that thing I don't want to have to worry about and don't want to get to. It's just a little bit of work to get things set up, and it can really deliver value in the long term. And you don't want to leave the back door open and really come to regret it. It's just not that hard to take those basic precautions, and you'll be glad you did. And if your business is worth investing your time and effort and care into it, it's also worth the effort to protect it and secure it.
All right. So you mentioned MFA, multi-factor authorization. I think that's value. That's a concrete example of something a small business owner could do. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. What's another thing that you think a small business owner, let's say a solopreneur or real estate agent, should do to make sure that they're kind of making sure that they're safe, quote safe, away from AI attacks or any type of cybersecurity attack or cyber attack?
So it really depends on the size and scale of the business. Some of the basic ones, just making sure your email is secure. You'd be surprised by this, but just I'm sure most of your listeners are familiar with phishing and spear phishing attacks, but just a significant amount of losses every year comes specifically from that. So just making sure that your teams are actually up to speed and trained on that and know what to look for is one significant thing.
Oh, you mean, hold on. When you say know what to look for, sorry, I'm going to be naive, but I am naive. What do you mean? Give an example, because I think everyone knows there's phishing, but I don't think, obviously people are getting stuck by phishing or getting caught by phishing. So there must be something that's there that people aren't seeing. So give me an example of a phishing expedition, and how do we make sure we don't get caught by that phishing expedition?
So phishing expeditions are getting much more sophisticated these days, and generative AI is giving these attackers much better tools to do that. So
Yep.
phishing emails they're effectively fake emails that are designed to look real, that are designed to lure you or your employees into sharing information with them.
Gotcha.
And very often that can be personal information, that can be credentials, that could be bank or financial information. A very classic type of phishing attack is for threat actors that are able to, say, compromise a company email account. Maybe this happens, maybe you don't realize it. They can set up rules to forward your emails out to a separate address that they're able to monitor.
Got it.
And they're able to then send targeted spear phishing attacks to your employees, say to your billing department, that says that there's some contractor that you have worked with previously with a new payment location, and that they might then start routing those funds out. That would be a very classic sort of financial loss type of cybersecurity attack.
That's good. That's really good. So what's another example? I like the phishing, I think, is a scary one. What's another example, a concrete example, a small business owner should probably try to protect themselves against?
Yeah, I mean, another classic one is, as soon as you get to be a multi-employee, even a relatively small business, you probably have some web services, and you probably have some cloud applications. You probably have devices that you authorize onto your network. At that stage, I really recommend getting an extended detection and response software. Certainly my employer doesn't need any plug. There are plenty of competitors out there, but some extended detection and response so that you can get basic logging and monitoring across each of your servers, across each of your applications, and just start monitoring the traffic so that you can have your IT people, and potentially, if it's time to start hiring a full-time cybersecurity analyst, to keep an eye on that and help you detect and notice anomalies, help you, the software has gotten really sophisticated these days to be able to learn what your ordinary business patterns are and be able to detect when things seem fishy or seem anomalous, whether you start seeing logins from IP addresses or regions that you don't expect, if you start seeing new devices on the network that aren't associated, if you see implausible movements over time. For instance, if one of your employees happens to compromise their credentials in some way, maybe they use a simple password or reuse a password across say a personal account with their work account, and the personal account gets compromised, that credential gets used, and all of a sudden you see them sign in Los Angeles one day and in Manila an hour later. That's probably a bad sign. And so you want to be able to detect those types of things so that you can go in, lock down those accounts, roll the credentials. As far as other basics, just requiring secure passwords and requiring that your employees roll their credentials regularly. And especially, there's a lot of small business owners here. Make sure that you follow these protocols and procedures yourselves. This is something we see too often, is the CEOs or the C-suite don't want to have to deal with the friction. They don't want to deal with multi-factor authentication. They don't want to deal with the credential roles. And you'd be surprised how often it is the C-suite that ends up being a point of failure when it comes to cybersecurity. So just doing the basics, having good passwords, rotating them, having multi-factor authentication, making sure that your software is up to date. Just doing the basics will take you so far. And I know that we're stretched a million different directions these days, but it's an area we really need to pay more attention to, and it will more than pay for itself in terms of its time.
You mean my friend who's an executive at a cybersecurity company shouldn't use the same passwords for every single thing that he owns? I do have a friend.
I am saying that would be a good idea.
I have a friend who does that. He's a big time executive. But anyway, I digress. So, all right, let's kind of change gears a little bit. Talking about artificial intelligence, large language models. That would be, let's say, Claude, Anthropic, or ChatGPT with, OpenAI. Now, especially with you in cybersecurity. So some people, even our clients are worried about using, chat as an example, or worried about using Claude or Gemini because they're worried about some of their information going out on, being lost, being lost to a big company, that being OpenAI, and they're worried about the transfer of data and them potentially getting, losing that data, or somehow it getting, attacked. Or who knows what's going to happen with, OpenAI as an example. So what are your thoughts there? Because, I mean, that might be a legitimate question to come into focus.
It's a fantastic question. And these tools are incredibly helpful and useful across such a wide range of tasks. But in the world that we live in, most things do get logged. And I think you need to really take a close look at the terms and conditions. But certainly how I approach these things is I assume that things are being logged and recorded unless I have strong evidence to the contrary. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I certainly understand for a small business owner, be cautious around the types of policies that you put in place. Also understand your employees want to be more efficient and productive. They may well be going around and using these tools. And so it really is wise to put together an AI strategy for your company and be clear with your employees about what they can and can't and shouldn't use AI for. But it's also because these productivity tools are so helpful, it's probably worth you investing in your own company-centric AI. And there are plenty of services that enable you to run your own models that you host, and you can control the logs. Or if you want to just have, a self-hosted model and you just want to dump the logs, you don't want information stored from your employees processing over your information, you can do that. And so I would just say, pay close attention to it. And if you don't have a policy in place, you may want to assume that your employees might use large language models, might use AI to accelerate what they're doing, and there's a risk that they will use information that you would not want logged to get logged to one of these hosting services. But plenty of companies do offer more secure versions of that, but it's worth looking into the details. The other thing that's worth keeping in mind is we're also seeing a big series of advancements in small language models. Yeah. So the advancements at the headline have been led by these enormous models, 500, 700 billion, trillion parameter models trained on the entire internet, just enormous amounts of computation and data that go through this and that are also very expensive to serve. These are what we call the frontier models. And they really are consistently pushing the bleeding edge of what is possible. But let's be honest, most inferences do not require that. Mm-hmm. And what we're also seeing is incredible innovations in squeezing as much capacity from those big models into much smaller packages. Mm-hmm. And so models along the lines of Alpaca and Llama 3 and Phi 3 as well, which was recently released. These are incredibly capable models that are small enough that the smallest versions can be run locally on a laptop, potentially even on smartphones. Mm-hmm. And so there's a huge, and many of these are available open source on Hugging Face and other repositories. So for small business owners, you can also get very good performance for just the cost of the compute, which is very, very low. And so it's worth thinking about really how much performance you need. You can, of course, do things like add retrieval augmented generation. So if you have an enormous amount of company documentation or policies, or you have a particular style guide, or just your particular brand that you really want to match, you can adjust these models to better match that and to better leverage that information, and potentially even fine-tune models on your example data to really better match your use case. So I would just say it's really worth thinking about how AI can work for you and your business, how you can personalize it, how much you want to invest, what you want your cost per inference to be. But there's just so much value here. And so just really start thinking about it and what it can do for your business.
I totally agree. I mean, people don't realize like theoretically, let's just say the cost of large language models of doing computing right now, theoretically using AI. Theoretically, it's high, although it's not. But let's just say it is, right? It's not. I agree with you. But I think down the road, it's going to be so dirt cheap. And why wouldn't a business owner start to learn about it? One, start to learn about AI, and then because then you'll be smart, quote smart. So then you'll be able to employ some of the resources, some of the small amount of resources that you'll need to be able to really push yourself ahead as a business owner and be able to compete going forward. I mean, by the way, again, I'm going to remind you, it's just like you say, it's pretty cheap. Why not start getting invested in some of those resources now? Because it'll pay off in the end. If you're, in my opinion, if you're not using artificial intelligence now or learning about it, you're going to get lost. You'll probably lose your job to AI or lose your company to AI. So I would say, start doing it now. Start using your resources towards artificial intelligence, using a small language model, just like you're saying, because it's right now is the time. And if you don't, it might be too late.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think some of the fears about job loss might get overstated at times, but it's not like we're not going to need lawyers anymore. But lawyers who use AI are probably going to outcompete lawyers that don't. Accountants that use AI are probably going to outcompete accountants that don't. It really can offer you a significant edge. And, I think some of the most slam dunk use cases at this point are code generation, or summarization, but also just drafting. I think customer service has a tremendous opportunity. But there's just so many places that can be used to improve your both in individuals' productivity. And I think where we're really moving is company level models that enable your entire team to work more effectively together, that are going to be able to operate across your company processes, and really increase the productivity of your entire team. So I agree that the cost per value that you get from AI is already exceptional and is improving significantly. I think already with some of the improvements that we've seen ship across Gemini, across Claude, across OpenAI, not only have their earlier models been great, but the subsequent releases are both better and significantly cheaper on a per inference and a per token basis. And I think we can expect that to continue to fall. And so it really is the right time to start using these tools, figuring out what they can and cannot do, and continuing to think about what the future is going to look like. What happens if this model is 10 or 20% better? What happens if it's 100% better? And you want to make sure that you can unlock, and I know 100% seems like a lot, but we look back to where we were 5 or 10 years ago. On some of these tasks, we're looking at 100x performance improvements. And there's no, the past doesn't necessarily predict the future, but the trajectory that we're on is really compelling. And I am not seeing the pace of innovation dropping. And I certainly am not seeing investment in this space dropping. So even additional incremental improvements are going to continue changing the game. The future is already here. And the question is, how do we best leverage the technology that is here and is arriving day by day to be able to help accelerate your business?
Wow. On that end, that's a perfect way to close this. I guess I should say, let's just say someone does want to get a hold of you. I know you have a lot of stuff going on. You're a big Microsoft guy. You're in charge of a big group. But let's just say someone does want to get a hold of you for whatever, maybe to book you for a big speaking gig or whatever the case is. How does someone get a hold of you?
I should really increase my visibility, but at this point, the best place to find me is LinkedIn. I'm a power user of LinkedIn. I think it's a fantastic place. I know that doesn't make me very cool, but I know some brilliant people there, and it turns out they share fantastic work there. So for the time being, find me on LinkedIn. Maybe I'll have some more media and more links in the future. But I'm active. I respond, so would be very happy to hear from anyone. I'm happy to connect and discuss any of these topics further.
I'm sure you will be big, and that kind of, bigger, because I think down the road, like AI is still, some people don't really grasp it, but I know down the road, anyone in AI, especially at your level, you're going to be the man. People are going to be wanting to reach out to you because, I mean, you're going to be in demand because there's going to be ways that you're going to be able to add value to companies, small companies, big companies, cybersecurity, especially when we kind of move into quantum computing. You know, you're going to be the man. You are the man, but you're going to be even more the man. How does that sound there, Michael?
Hey, don't be too generous here. There's so much opportunity here, and it's such an amazing time to be alive. And also, as the tooling keeps getting better, it's easier and easier to unlock this. But I also understand the gap between, you know, where the software and the AI and the tools are and how you plug it into your business and your life and how you deliver value from it. It still remains daunting and challenging. And I know there's some great people who are helping to close that gap. I hope to find ways to make it easier for individuals to extract value and make their lives easier and help their businesses thrive. So
I'm sure
it's really been a pleasure.
You probably heard me when I say I think maybe this is overspoken, but I'll say that I think every business owner now, if they want to truly get ahead and use AI and get ahead in their business or their career, they should spend. I know this is over, you know, maybe a little bit of stretch, but I'll say it. I think they should spend an hour a day using AI because I think that's an investment. That's going to come back way more than that 1 hour actually of spend, number one. Then number two, I think they should sponsor meetups. I don't care if you're an accountant, a real estate agent, or a computer engineer, whatever the case is, they should do meetups and get other people who are interested in that common theme, that being AI, and with you, I will say, cybersecurity. And then go to a national meeting of some sort to AI4 or AI5 or whatever the case will be down the road. So, you know, you're rubbing shoulders with people who are interested in that topic, that being AI. And then who knows, maybe you're going to be asked to speak at one of those conferences because you're spending 5 hours a day. You're spending, you know, 1 day a month doing a meetup. I think doing an investment in AI, I think it'll come back numerous fold. I really believe that.
I couldn't agree more. And what I would also say is think about how AI can already make your life easier. I think even as someone who works in this field every day, every now and again, I will find some new task that I like, wait a second, could AI help me with this? And I will be surprised by just how much it does that. And that is just pure time savings to me. Yeah. Like so much of it is just having this thought of, it's just sort of a metacognitive step of how am I spending my time? And is any of this repeatable? Is it automatable? Is this something that AI could give me a bad, rough draft for? Yep. And I can't even tell you how much time that has already saved me. So I really, to all of your listeners out there, this is not an extra hour that you need to carve out of a busy day. What Kenner's suggesting here is an hour of savings.
Exactly.
It is about saving you time. It is not about something else to sink your time into. Yep. And you got to remember that these things compound as well. Right. That now you've saved time on this, it will help you find that next harder thing that AI might also help you benefit from. That will help you unlock that next harder thing that you can also benefit from. And so this is something that I share with my friends who work in other industries. And I know they have certainly benefited from that suggestion. So really, really encourage folks to think about how it can already make your life easier.
Yeah, you and I I'm preaching to the choir. You and I obviously have thoughts that are aligned. So, wow, this has been a huge, 30-something minutes. I really appreciate this. And I'm really hoping our listeners and viewers really decide to really employ some of these things we've talked about because it'll add value to their business or maybe even their careers or whatever the case is. And I appreciate you spending time here because it's been really fun for me. And I can tell that some listeners and viewers out there are going to be pretty happy about this.
No, these are topics I'm very passionate about, so very happy to discuss it. It's been a pleasure being here on the podcast with you. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. All right, guys. This is Kenner French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Please go ahead and, if you have any feedback, any questions, or what have you, go ahead and email us at info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. Again, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. It's totally been a pleasure. By the way, if you need anything, go ahead and stop by our website at vastsolutionsgroup.com as well. Thank you, everybody.